Hey everyone, welcome back. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about Cranes by Dan Dirks. Ampism suggested this as a topic, and just like with the Flora video, I ended up coming away with a much better understanding of the script. Cranes is described as a stereo varispeed looper / delay / timeline smoosher, and is made up of two independent buffers that can be manipulated in various ways. This is another script that really benefits from having a grid controller, but if you don't have one, you can get most of the functionality through custom MIDI mapping. Before I get into Cranes, I want to mention a really cool mod I came across. As you can see, I'm capturing the display of Norns directly instead of filming the screen. After last week's video, I knew I needed a way to more clearly display what's going on. This mod is called Ndi-Mod and allows you to stream your screen in real time with the NDI streaming video protocol. Once you download the necessary software, you can integrate it into OBS just like any other video input source. I'll leave a link in the description to the download page. Okay, back to Cranes. By default, Cranes will record the left input into voice 1 and the right input into voice 2. You can change this in the parameters menu, but I'll come back to that later. There isn't a ton displayed on the main screen. The top two controls, which are called 1 and 2, display the time of their respective voices' playheads. Underneath that, we have O1, which is the overdub to overwrite ratio, S1, which is the start time in seconds, and E1, which is the end time in seconds. Holding button 1 will shift the focus to voice 2. And you'll see the same controls except they'll have a 2 in their name instead of a 1. Encoder 1 is used to adjust the ratio of overdub to overwrite. A value of 0 is full overdub and will add new audio to the pre-existing audio in the buffer. A value of 1 is full overwrite, which will replace the existing audio with new audio. Encoder 2 will adjust the start time of the selected voice, and encoder 3 will change the end time. Button 2 will record arm the buffers. The first time you record, button 2 will record arm both voices. However, after the initial record, button 2 will only record on the voice that you are focused on. Holding button 3 and pressing button 1 will clear the buffer. Finally, we have button 3, which will perform a speed bump on voice 1. You can tap it to do a quick nudge or hold it to keep the change in place. By default, button 3 does a very small bump in speed, but this can be adjusted in the parameters menu. I'll get back to that later. Now moving on to the grid. Like Otis, there are two identical sets of controls here, one for each voice. I'm just going to cover voice 1. Once again, I'm going to name the columns A through P and the rows 1 through 8. 1A and 1K are the speed and direction controls. 1F will set the playback speed to 0, which stops playback. If you move to the right, the speed will increase from quarter up to 4 times, with 1I being normal speed. If you move in the opposite direction, the same pattern is followed except in reverse. 1E will play back at quarter speed in reverse, and 1A will play back at 4 times speed in reverse. 1M will sync voice 1's playhead to the position of voice 2. This is useful for lining the two buffers up again if they get out of sync through speed modulation. 1N will resize voice 1's loop length to the same length as voice 2, and 1O will reset the playhead to the start. In the next row, the only illuminated button is 2P. This is the snapshot button. This is similar to the macro control in MLR. When you press the snapshot button, it will save the current state of the buffers. You can save up to 13 snapshots and they will appear between 2A and 2M. The snapshots record speed, playback direction, playhead position, and start and endpoint values. Pressing the snapshot will recall all of this information. To clear your snapshots, press 2O. Next we have row 3. 3A will adjust the start point by minus 0.01 seconds. 3B will adjust it by minus 0.1 seconds. 3C will increase the start time by 0.1 seconds, and 4C will increase the start time by 0.01 seconds. Next are the window adjustment controls. These will shift the entire window, both the start and end points. 3G will shift the window by negative 0.01 seconds, and 3J will shift the window by 0.01 seconds. 3H will decrease the window time by the current length of the window, and 3I will increase the window time by the current length. 3M through 3P are the endpoint controls. These follow the same layout as the start point adjustment keys, with 3M decreasing by 0.01 seconds, 3N decreasing by 0.1 seconds, 3O increasing by 0.1 seconds, and 3P increasing by 0.01 seconds. Finally, we have row 4, which displays the playhead location for voice 1 if something has been recorded into the buffer. Next up we have the parameters page. I'm going to go through the menu in order. First we have the speed controls for voices 1 and 2. These are the same controls that are accessible from the grid. MIDI control speed displays the MIDI value for the speed controls. Global offset lets you transpose the buffers and semitones up to 2 octaves up or down. The level in controls lets you balance how much of the signal from the inputs is going into each buffer. By default, the left input is going to voice 1 and the right input is going to voice 2. Instead, you could have the left input go to voice 2 or both voice 1 and 2, for example. Next are the level controls for voices 1 and 2, which is just the volume of the buffers. After that, we have the pan controls. The pan parameter will control the balance of the voices, and the slew control will adjust how quickly the pan changes will occur. The filter section has a lot going on. The first parameter is the cutoff. Next are the low pass, high pass, band pass, and dry levels for voice 1. A value of 1 will mean that the filtered signal is audible, and a value of 0 will mean it's inaudible. The final control for voice 1 is the resonance amount, with 0 being the highest and 2 being the lowest. Next we have the same controls for voice 2. The final 2 controls are key 3 behavior and voice 2 buffer reference. By default, key 3 behavior is set to do a very small speed increase. The additional options are half speed, reverse, up a fifth, and up 2 octaves. Voice 2 buffer reference will decide which buffer voice 2 will read from. By default, it reads from buffer 2, which allows 2 discrete loopers. However, you can set it to buffer 1 so that both voices are identical. Cranes is one of the first scripts I ever used. I love the ability to take snapshots, and the speed and length controls are extremely intuitive. Being able to use Cranes as a pitch shifted delay is also a nice bonus. Thank you to Ampism for suggesting this topic. I thought I had a pretty good grasp of Cranes, but after doing this video I realized that wasn't the case. As always, thank you for watching, and if you have any topic or script suggestions, leave a comment below. I'll see you next week.